We are in the 16th day of our journey, Baruch Hashem, and since this quarter, we're going to focus a lot on prayers, so we're also going to focus on the other direction, because Hashem gave us a very powerful tool, which is our mouth. And last week for us in Israel, we were reading Parashat Balak. The people, the Jews in the diaspora, they read this week Parashat Balak, where really if one needs to summarize the whole parasha, is to say what power the mouth has, both on the negative way and on the positive way. And I've noticed a terrible thing. I mean, I was just as guilty in that 100%, but that was one of the first things that I actually was working on myself when I became observant, is how people talk. Now, most people don't even notice how they talk. And most people talk that every fifth word or every 10th word, there's some word, a curse word. And not curse like, you should die, but the A word, the B word, the C word, the D word, and all these words. Which, if you would once listen to yourself talk, you might be shocked how you sound. Now, when I became observant, I told you already numerous times that I didn't go to yeshiva. I isolated myself from the world, and I didn't speak for months. And I was first going through a period of accepting the fact that I need to change completely, but also first refining myself. With the thought that I can't learn Torah, I can't pray, I can't properly serve God if I'm full of junk. My mind is dirty, if my speech is corrupt and dirty, if my actions are inappropriate. I was like, how can I sit and learn Torah all day long when my mouth is cursing and slandering? And how can I pray to God when every second word that comes out of my mouth is some type of an adjective? So it's not so easy, because I would monitor how I speak. So at the beginning, I would just monitor how I speak. And then at some point I was like, okay, the easiest way to get rid of it is not to speak at all. But the fact is that most people, and even people who are refined and from a good, solid, positive background, the way they talk is sometimes it's hard to hear even. And it's not necessarily because you got into an argument. Sometimes you hit your leg at the corner of the bed. Instead of saying ouch, you say a few words that Hashem Yerachem just came out of the mouth. So, and needless to say that sometimes people, somebody does something to them, you drive in the car, somebody cuts you, and you curse the person with any existing disease. You know, the person, his mother's profession, the whole thing. What did you do? He just cut you in the street. So, there's a question that is presented in the Talmud. How severe it's called nibul peh. It's not really cursing. I would say maybe false language. Maybe that's the way to define it. In Hebrew it's called nibul peh, that I'm taking my mouth and I'm making the mouth dirty. And in the Talmud, if you want to look it up, it's in Tractate Shabbat, page 33, and it's presenting a question, what does it do to the world when a person speaks like that? And it says horrible things. It brings disasters to the world. It brings decrees against us. It can cause youth and children to die, widows and orphans that cry in prayer and they don't get answers, diseases, a whole list of things. How terrible, because a person is speaking inappropriately. And again, I'm not talking about that when a person now is in an argument and tells to another person, drop dead or whatever. Talk when a person even is with himself and something spills on the floor. This, why the adjective has to come in? Say ouch, or oh no. You don't even have to say anything. It's actually kind of a mind-boggling. Why does you have to say something when something spills on the table? I'm not talking right now when you lose your temper, then words start flying out of your mouth. So what we need to take from that is that Hashem gave us a very powerful tool that we see that Bilam, with his power, he was about to curse, and how Hashem turned it into a blessing, but we don't know how powerful our mouth is. So if we know that our mouth is powerful to the direction of positive, then we know in the Torah there's what's called measure for measure, midah keneged midah. Must be that the same power, if it's used in a negative way, will cause a huge destruction. Take, for example, nuclear power. If it's used in a very positive way, unbelievable. You know, there are aircraft carriers in the American Army that they run on nuclear power. They don't fuel themselves. They go for years on nuclear power. I mean, not that I'm saying that an aircraft carrier is something positive, but I'm just saying you can take nuclear power and do a lot of positive things with it, and take nuclear power, you can destroy an entire continent. And that's with everything. So, especially when it comes to speaking. What do we need to take from that, especially that we are on a journey to refine ourselves, then it's not only what goes out and what goes in, it's how you use this tool. So it's not so easy. It took me many, many years to really focus on myself, because most people don't listen to what they say. And you know, now there's technology. Record yourself once and then listen. You know where I really found out how I sound? Is when I started posting videos online. I would listen to the class. I'm talking about it 10 years ago. I would listen to the class and then I said, oh my God, that's how I sound? Because we don't even notice that we're saying all sorts of things like, and that it would drive me crazy. I would listen to my own class and every second word I would say, what do you need to know? If you don't know, if you know, you won't come to the class. But we don't even notice how we're throwing all these, yeah. And I would listen to my own classes. Half of them I wouldn't even put online or anything, because I was like, I sound like a moron. But I would listen to myself. And this is one way when somebody wants to learn to be a public speaker, that's one of the steps. Listen to yourself, how you sound. Look at a video, how your hand movements go, how you behave. You don't even notice how many times you play with your nose, so without even noticing. So same thing with how we talk. You don't notice how you talk, but the ones around you notice how you talk. And needless to say, the master of the universe doesn't like to hear certain words. Now it's not so easy, because I really went through a long process, because when I was an observant, going back 20 years ago, every second word that came out of my mouth was a disgusting word. I don't even say the letter word, the A word, B word, C word, all the words. There wouldn't be a sentence without a few curses and without, and even if I would talk to people, the way how I express myself to other people, even like when you in a joke, sometimes I hear people and they talking in a friendly way and somebody says something, shut up. No, that's not nice to say shut up, even if it's in a funny way. You know, so then of course it will be more refined, get out of here. But even that has to be refined to a point that your words should be calculated. The same way that they're calculated when in a positive way, calculated in a negative way. So this is a little bit tricky, because that requires a lot of attention of how you talk. It's not so simple. But now the things like this, you know yourself better than everybody. You know if you use a lot of this language. And I'm not talking right now when you get angry. When you get angry, of course, junk is going to come flying out of your mouth. This is a much higher level than when you're angry, to control the mouth. That's the best way one needs to strive, is how do I control my mouth when I lost my temper? And the best way to do is just to close your mouth, turn around, and either bang at the head of the wall or do something to count till 200, till the anger calms down. But now what we need to focus on is not only how we use our mouth for prayer, is take to consideration that if your mouth was cursing, I'm not talking right now Lashon Hara, slandering, gossip and all that. If a person speaks Lashon Hara, don't expect your prayers to go up. I explained that once, and we might have to do a few classes to remind that the way it works, that when you say a prayer, the prayer goes to the first heavenly court, and they filter the prayer. 90% of the words they don't accept. They weren't pronounced right, they weren't with the right intention, and then it goes to the next heavenly court, to the next heavenly court, to the next heavenly court. By the time it comes to Hashem, maybe there's a letter that came up. So if you're lucky, you want to focus that in 1 year you get one good prayer. That's what happens on Rosh Hashanah. The angels takes all your prayers from the entire year and they sow one good prayer. Because every day you maybe said 2 verses with the right intention. So, and then they put one good prayer and take it up to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. If you're lucky, I mean, it's every day. But don't think for a second that our prayers go so fast up to Shamayim. A lot of people say, I prayed so much, I can't find my other half. Well, you also, at the same time, curse all day long. Why do you think the prayer will come up? Why people go to great rabbis and ask them to pray on their behalf? Because the rabbi doesn't slander, he doesn't cheat. Well, it depends on the rabbi, of course. I'm talking about a kosher one. Then he doesn't cheat, slander, curse, and use their mouth in the wrong way. So the prayer is pure. So I'm telling you already, not for you to how do you say, to disregard? Not to disregard, to make you, to discourage you. But if you curse, slander, cheat, lie, use false language, don't think your prayers are going to go so high up. And then of course they don't get answered. Now I'm not saying the prayers are going for vain, because if you do tshuva, you untie the junk and then the prayer will go up. Nothing that you do goes to waste. If a person now is kind of limbo, half mitzvot, half averot, a lot of your mitzvot go to the sitra acha. You give the sitra acha, the other side of holiness, a lot of power. But when you do tshuva, you release it. You get it back. That's what we're talking about. Kriyat Shema is to get back my godly sparks. But same thing with prayer. So that's why it was very important to me when I became observant. Before I go to yeshiva and I start praying, the mouth has to be clean. Can't be cursing, can't be mocking, can't be making fun of people. And the way how I would talk, everything would come with some type of a title. And I don't even, I was about to give you now an example how I would talk. It's not appropriate even. Because even I would talk to people, even if it wouldn't be a curse word, I would, say things to make them feel not good. And comment on how they look, comment on how they look. I mean, how I expressed myself was just disgusting. To a point that I was like shocked for myself. Disgusting. So if I found myself disgusting, how does the Kadosh Baruch Hu looks at me? So this is not an easy one. It requires a lot of attention, and it requires for you to listen to what you say and to be very aware. And if chas v'shalom, the wrong word comes out, you right away, Mechila Hashem, I'm sorry. And if it came out on somebody, I'm sorry, listen, I didn't mean to say that word, I'm sorry. You might sound a little bit, in the beginning, a little bit funny and a little bit OCD, but you want to get to a point that the mouth has a perfect filter in it, that as humans, we shoot from the mouth right away, without thinking. When you want to really master it, you make a delay system, that nothing comes out of your mouth before it goes through some type of process. So you might look like a very slow individual, but it will take you 2-3 seconds to think and then answer. And you know what? It works very well that you don't right away answer. So, maybe in the beginning you'll look a little bit slow. But think before you say anything, because sometimes what you say, that's it. It's out to the world. It will never will be able to rectify it. So it requires a lot of discipline. It requires a lot of awareness. Don't do it in an OCD way, because then you will lose your calmness. But put it to your attention is how you express yourself. And you know what? Anything can be done, as they say, when there's a will, there's a way. You just think about it. And you need to even sometimes takes a few minutes a day to think of how you talk. And even if it needs, you go and apologize. I'm sorry. You say to a person, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to express myself in that way. I was angry. I was impatient. I didn't feel good. So how we project our energy on other people, affects the person in a very profound way, but it will bounce back at me at the end of the day. So let's clean our mouth a little bit.